everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Krystal Jane, and in today's video I brought back a special guest, Nadia. If you haven't seen my last video, please make sure to do so. She was in my last video about zodiac signs, but in today's video we're going to talk about underdeveloped and developed signs.
Developed and underdeveloped signs are in the zodiac, and basically in order to do that I kind of want to start from like the very beginning. So if you don't know your sun, moon, and rising, definitely go check that out. You can just do a quick Google search for your birth chart. You're going to need your birth time and where you were born. You can find out your moon sign. So for those of you who don't know what a moon sign is, your moon sign is like your emotions and your feelings and how you go about them. So I'm a Pisces moon, so I experience my emotions and my feelings very much like a Pisces, whereas my sun sign, I'm a Gemini, so I go about my daily life like a Gemini, but my feelings are very much like a Pisces. So maybe we'll make another video about that one day. So as a child, most children are operating based off of their moon signs. Like children are just going off of their emotions at all times. That's how they react to everything, is just emotion based. So typically children are their moon signs. And we don't really grow into our sun signs or like grow into our sun signs until we hit our teenage years or like early 20s, early adulthood. And when we do that, like when we do reach that point, we're still underdeveloped sun signs. Like we haven't fully developed into what our sun signs potential could be. And so that development comes later on in life, or for some people, they don't ever develop and they remain in this like undeveloped place of like early adolescence that they don't ever grow out of. So today I kind of want to talk about the difference between those two things, being developed and being underdeveloped, and just knowing that everyone has both, and it's up to you to determine if you want to like work towards developing those like positive traits that you're already born with.
Yeah, and with that being said, like when I first think about underdeveloped or developed signs, I think about like some of the stereotypes that people associate each sign can be true, but it's because that person can be showing their underdeveloped characteristics.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think about the stereotypes, and not everybody fits the stereotypes, and some people do fit the stereotypes, and you're gonna see what we're talking about. So for the first sign, we're gonna talk about Aries. I know that like a stereotype or an undeveloped characteristic would be that Aries gets very heated. They get very argumentative. They like to start fights, but they're not quick to like reflect on themselves and like make things better. They just leave things heated, and it is what it is. And then also I feel like they can be self-centered, and what I mean about that is that they're not open to your side of why you did something. It's just like they're very quick to be like, you're wrong, and I'm always right, or like I'm right about the situation.
Underdeveloped like traits of an Aries where they don't see the other perspective is because Aries are very like self-motivated like people, and they're in their underdeveloped state very much like a child. So they're just kind of like, I want this and I want it now, and like they don't really see like, they don't like to be told no. They like all the possibilities. They're kind of like, and this is again underdeveloped, like they kind of want their cake and want to eat it too. They want everything, and when they can't have it, it becomes like a temper tantrum, and that's where the aggressiveness and like the anger, like it all comes out, because it's like they're impatient. They're just impatient, and they want everything like right now in this very moment, and they can't have it. They get frustrated. And like another thing about underdeveloped Aries is they can be very like chaotic or like erratic in their sense of like, because they can't wait for what they want, they'll go about getting it in like ways that might not be safe, or like thinking of others, because they're just very tunnel vision once they've decided on something.
Aries, naturally they will be argumentative. So for a developed Aries, how do they go about their flaws?
I don't want to say that like naturally they're argumentative. I think they're just impatient, and then in that impatience leads to arguments and like just misunderstandings, because people don't see like what it is that they want or what they're impatient for, so then they like get upset. But for like a developed Aries, I think we can take all of those things that they naturally have, that impatience, that fire, that passion, and use it for like positive things. So I would say like a developed Aries is somebody who's very ambitious and they work really hard towards their goals. Like an Aries with their mindset, like I told you before, they have tunnel vision. So an Aries who has like that mindset of like, I'm gonna get this done, like they will get it done. They will. So
you want them on your team because they'll get things done. Okay.
Yeah, and they're very like brave and leaders, and they can be very like courageous. Like they're very brave because they're very like impulsive. Like once they've made up their mind, they're gonna just do it, and that can be something to be admired because a lot of people don't have like that courage or that courageousness in them to be able to just like put their mind to something and do it.
Yeah. So the next sign would be Taurus. They're stubborn, and I wrote stubborn AF in my notes because I know a few Taurus who are very much stuck in their ways, and they'll ask me about like, oh, my opinion on something, and I'll give my opinion, and they'll be like, no, they're like, that's wrong, that's not correct, that's not the right opinion, and like they're kind of, I want to say like a little bit judgmental. They're not very open-minded to other people's beliefs or opinions on like certain areas, especially if they feel passionate about something. They're like, nope, it's this way.
Yeah, definitely an underdeveloped trait about a Taurus is their closed-mindedness. Once they've already like had their own opinions, they've developed this, they're very slow to change their minds and slow to see other perspectives, only because they feel like what they are doing, it works for them, and it's been something that's, you know, proven to be true, and like they just stick with it. They're very slow to change. Doesn't mean they can't change their mind. It's just slower to do it than most of the other signs. Underdeveloped traits, they could also be, because Taurus is the sign that is like ruling of possessions and like values, they can tend to treat people like possessions and like objects. And that's not always the best or most healthiest way to like treat people.
Interesting.
And it can be like an underdeveloped Taurus who's like truly underdeveloped can be very like money hungry and just like only focusing on like things that will provide them money. So you would say like these would be like the gold diggers of the world who might just like, you know, like only be driven by money, and if it's not about money, like nothing else really matters. And in that you can like, you know, treat people pretty crappy.
I read somewhere that Taurus are lazy, or underdeveloped Taurus are lazy.
I would say they're indulgent. They can tend to like indulge in their comforts, whether that's like food or just literally just laying in bed, like
when they're comfortable.
So like it could be to the point where you're like indulging too much, because Taurus is a very sensual sign. They like to touch, they like to feel. So anything that feels good, anything that like just gives them that sense of like comfort, they should be very careful about like not diving into that too much to the point of being like gluttonous, to the point where it's like it's an addiction, and you want to be careful of that. But I will say that, you know, to be a developed Taurus, they have a lot of positive traits. Like the money thing, they can be very abundant, always being around money, always having opportunity to money, just by their natural like nature of being like reliable, productive, and like doing the things that they say they're going to do. Money will always come to a Taurus, one way or another.
I always found that contradicting, because I'm like, if they're like, to me, if they're about their money, like you're a hustler, I find that to be like a good thing. So when I read somewhere that they're lazy, I'm like, I'm a little confused, but you explained it way better than...
They're more indulgent. And then some people think that that's lazy. And it could lead to like lazy episodes where you're just like on your couch eating cookies. I'm guilty of that too, so don't worry. So I would say that they appreciate art and beauty. That's another thing about Taurus is like, because they're Venus ruled. So like Venus is, you know, the planet of the beauty and love and romance, and Taurus definitely has that like spirit in them as well. So definitely lean towards that, like the positives and getting the things done, and try to avoid like indulging in things for like a long period of time. Of course, like indulge when you need to, when you deserve, treat yourself.
All right, so underdeveloped Geminis, I already started writing it on my phone. So I know there's so many stereotypes, so many flaws that people love to talk about Gemini.
Everybody's gonna know all the underdeveloped traits of a Gemini.
Yeah, so people are like, yep, probably as I go on this list. Listen, I'm well aware that these underdeveloped characteristics could be true for some people, because as a Gemini, I have a lot of Gemini friends, and I can see these characteristics in other people, and I can honestly see some of these characteristics for myself. Like when they get, like, they can come out. So we're not perfect.
Right.
But I know that underdeveloped Geminis love to hear themselves talk, and boy, if I know something, I love to talk about it. So they can be two-faced. Geminis are a very anxious sign, so this is like a characteristic that sometimes I can find myself relating to, that they have a certain identity that they want to have people see themselves, and they get very upset and emotional and personally offended if they think that other people think that their image is not being perceived on how they want it to be perceived. So in order to make up for it, they'll be overly loud or obnoxious or overly whatever it is that they want to come off as, like whatever, fun or whatever.
Or confident even.
Confident. And it can turn out to look very arrogant, but it's because of their own insecurity. And another underdeveloped characteristic is flakiness and indecisiveness, which I'm the most indecisive person that I know, because I can't make decisions.
Yeah, I can be the flaky one, so I'm sorry. So everybody has underdeveloped traits, okay?
Everyone, you know, it comes out sometimes.
Yeah, so like for underdeveloped Geminis, I can definitely say, like, for myself, I noticed that I had more of these traits when I was younger. And as I get older, I think I'm starting to lean more into like the developed traits of a Gemini. Or at least I'm attempting to, like, I'm trying to get there as well. So I think that some things about underdeveloped Geminis can be very, like, moody, irritable, like very irritable. Like everything is annoying.
Like as an underdeveloped Gemini, or if I'm just having a bad day, like my mood could change so quick because I peeped something. Yeah. Or like I peeped something. It could be something just so anything. Minor, and I'm like, I don't like the way that person moves. Like, it's a little shady.
We're like observant, so anything can kind of like set the mood off. Another underdeveloped trait about Geminis could be very emotionally closed off. Geminis can be very funny, so like we try to like throw jokes instead of like dealing with emotions. So if like somebody was to come to a Gemini who's like totally underdeveloped and like try to vent to them emotionally, they're gonna shut it down. Like that's not the friend you want to go to. An underdeveloped Gemini is not who you want to go to if you want to be heard emotionally. They can be gossipy and very like restless, and just like a very like nervous energy like around them, constantly like needing to like do something, go somewhere, talk to somebody, or just you feel a restlessness about an underdeveloped Gemini. There's just a lot of like thoughts going on. Closed off, they're in that they can be kind of like bad listeners, because they tend to like either overpower the conversation or just kind of like be in their own head while you're talking. So
it's like they love to hear themselves talk, and they love to have all these conversations, but an underdeveloped Gemini, they're not going to listen to you. They're listening to themselves, and they want you to listen to themselves too. So.
Right. But developed Geminis, and again, people can have both. I definitely have both. Yeah. But developed energy for Gemini would be like someone who's very like social, like very friendly, knows a lot, very like intelligent, so they know a little bit about everything. Being able to be like witty and playful, and like
they're just like the life of the party, and that can be, it can be a good and a bad thing. So as a developed Gemini, like the life of the party, they make other people from different groups come together. So I think that's a really good trait.
And like the duality that comes from being underdeveloped and being like two-faced, where it's like we can see one perspective, we can see another perspective. Some people may honestly take that and be two-faced and might say one thing to one person and one thing to another, but a developed Gemini will take that ability to see both sides of a perspective to give good, clear, rational advice about like, hey, I see this, and I see this, and I think this is what you should do. So taking that same like tendency, but applying it in different ways.
So Cancer, underdeveloped Cancers are obsessed with their feelings. She or he is excessively emotional. She can get easily offended, like too affected, and her feelings are always inflated. She can play the victim, or he can play the victim card, and also can play also can be very manipulative with emotions, and could just make everything seem like the world is out to get that person.
Cancer is a very sensitive sign, a very emotional sign. I am a Cancer rising and a Cancer Mercury, so I know this all very well. So definitely the emotional manipulation comes in because it's more of like, I want you to feel as badly as like you made me feel, type of thing. Because we're so sensitive. Like we feel everything and we take things in. We notice tone. It's like, whoa, it's a lot to deal with. So someone who's like underdeveloped might take that and like project it onto you and like try to make you feel as like horrible as they feel.
Yeah. Or with that being said, I feel like Cancers, they're empaths, right? And they understand. Definitely. They can feel emotions. They can feel shifts. So I feel like with being a manipulator, you could be like, well, she responds like this if I hit this feeling. Like if she doesn't...
Oh, it's like really, like it's emotional warfare.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, so she'll be sad about this, so I'm going to throw that into the conversation so that way she could either come back to me or respond in a way that I want her to.
Yeah, exactly. And just kind of like being like, well... And also like seeking sympathy, just being like, yeah, see, I knew you never cared about me anyway. That's why this is what, blah, blah.
Oh,
and just kind of trying to like make the other like guilt the other person, basically.
Yeah.
That's the emotional manipulation, is to just make the other person feel really guilty.
And it can do that to other people, so that way they're on their side.
Yeah, that too, definitely. And another like underdeveloped Cancers can be very pessimistic and just very like negative worldview all the time. Not having a hard time seeing like the positive of a situation, and they can tend to bottle up a lot of their emotions and their sensitivities, mostly because they think the world doesn't really make space or hold space for them to be able to like share how they're truly feeling and their sensitivities. But they tend to bottle up a lot until they finally like one day just explode and like they burn bridges a lot. They hold grudges, they don't forget anything. So when they bottle it all up, it just comes out in like one big...
I feel like it's very similar to Scorpios, and we'll get there.
But developed Cancers, using that empathy, using that like sensitivity that they have, they can be really like beautiful people as well. They can be really nurturing and kind and like understanding that people go through things, and who knows more than a Cancer who feels everything. They can understand that other people also feel, and they can be very emotionally intelligent and just have a better sense of like other people's emotions, and don't let their own emotions like rule their lives. Like they can feel their emotions, recognize their emotions, but also regulate and make sure that they're not acting based off of that emotion.
Yeah.
So that would be like a developed Cancer.
What I love about developed Cancers is that they really are caring, and they genuinely care like so much with their whole soul and heart about another person. And like, who doesn't want to be cared for with all of that energy? Like, underdeveloped Leos can be known to dominate whoever they're around. So they like to make people think that they're very great and big, and they can come off self-centered. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. That sounded weird in my head. They have mean humor. It's their way or no way. They're very... Are they a fixed sign?
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah,
look, I'm learning.
Sign, yeah.
Leos are fixed signs, so they're stuck in their ways too.
They are very like self-centered, like egoistic, I would say. Like Leos have a really big ego, which can be a really good thing, could be really detrimental or like, harmful to themselves and to others. And some would say like they could have like narcissistic tendencies, only because they're like so self-centered and so focused on like themselves, and like they don't take the time to think about others because they're very preoccupied with themselves. They tend to thrive off of like external validation and like compliments, and like if they're not getting that, then it's like, again, it's similar to Aries, like a temper tantrum. Like if they feel like they're not getting enough attention or validation or like external like attention, it's a problem for an underdeveloped Leo. As well as like another thing that underdeveloped Leos tend to have is that they're very generous. Like Leo as a sign and in general is very generous. They like to give a lot. So with underdeveloped Leos, they might give money or like spend just a ridiculously generous amount of money that they may or may not have. So that could be a problem, especially if you like don't have that that luxury or that like ability to spend a lot. For underdeveloped Leos, it can like put them in debt. It can put them in like some serious financial issues. So that's definitely something to like look out for if you are a Leo and you're still in your underdeveloped stages. Like definitely keep that in mind. You don't want to put yourself in debt off of just some like reckless, generous spending to try to get like that external validation. It's not worth it. But developed Leos are probably just amazing people. They're ruled by the sun, so everyone is like drawn to them and their warmth and their natural sunshine that they have. Beautiful. You know, like everyone, if you're a Leo, everyone's paying attention to what you're doing and whether it's good or it's bad. So they're very like proud people. So if you're in a group of friends and Leo's one of your friends, they're going to be really proud of all of their friends' like accomplishments. They're going to be there for you, be very generous. They're very loyal. Like once they have their close-knit group of friends, like that's it. That's locked in. That's who their pride is, or their group. Yeah. They treat the ones that they love like royalty, and they can be very like confident people, super confident, you know, because they're really like self-assured. And so instead of seeking that external validation and external compliments, they give it to themselves. So like internal validation, which is the difference there. And they're very naturally leaders, because people are always paying attention. So naturally, like people want to follow what they're doing.
So the next sign is Virgo, and underdeveloped Virgos can be extremely judgmental and analytical, and they rarely do anything to grow and move forward, because eventually the person will find something to just complain about or not be satisfied with, like, but overly like that.
Yeah, so I guess like an underdeveloped Virgo is someone who is very, I would say, because Virgos are very like analytical and they like to like dive in and look at things very closely, an underdeveloped Virgo might be somebody who is like critical to the point of just like you're criticizing things that people don't really need criticized. You're just kind of like nitpicking at this point, or like micromanaging. If you're like in charge of somebody, you might be micromanaging as well. And you might just like focus on like the negative rather than seeing like the positive or like the big picture. They could also be seen as like cold-hearted, because they're very independent. So Virgos are very independent, and some of them might like almost in a sense like romanticize the idea of being seen as like emotionless, or like I got it, like I'm good by myself type of attitude, or like a front that you put on. They can be very like sarcastic and like cynical in a way because of their criticism, or because their inability to kind of like see the bigger picture. You might like zoom in and nitpick, and like you've just accepted like that you're gonna be alone, because you don't want to like, you're very picky. You're just picky, and like, you can't bypass all of those like little tiny things for like the big picture. And so you tend to like cancel out a lot of really great people off of like very like little tiny minor details. And
I feel like that could come off as like, oh, I'm better than you kind of mentality. Yeah. Because they're so judgmental on other people, and they're quick to criticize others without like checking themselves first.
Yeah, so that's something else that like underdeveloped Virgos might struggle with, is like having that ability to like be accountable for their own flaws and their own responsibilities, and like that's something that they don't really do, because they're focused on what everyone else is doing wrong, or what everyone else is not doing, I guess, and being hypercritical towards that. But a developed Virgo would be somebody who's like really hardworking, very organized, is somebody who likes to like be of service to other people. They like to like host at their house. They're very like clean, productive people, like that like to like do things constantly. Yeah. They're very hard workers.
Yeah, I would love to work with her. Actually, one of my coworkers is a Virgo, and she follows everything through. She has clean work. So that's what I love.
So like using that ability to like zoom in on details, but like for the higher good. So like at work, I feel like that is like the best possible traits to have. Yeah. To be a developed Virgo in a work environment, like I would kill for that. Yeah. They enjoy analyzing people and situations. So that can be a great thing when like people really need somebody to help fix a situation. Like a Virgo would be a great person to come and like fix, as long as you're being asked to, you know what I mean? Like without giving unsolicited like criticism that people are not asking for. using that for like good, for like when people come to you as like a mediator, being able to like pinpoint like, hey, wait, I need you to like read over my paper, like give me like feedback or whatever. Virgo would be the perfect person to ask for that type of feedback.
Yeah. Okay, so underdeveloped Libras, I wrote that underdeveloped Libras can be extremely indecisive, similar to Geminis. They can be shallow. I know Libras are known for their beauty, whether it's like their outward appearance or, you know, inside beauty with their personality. But if you're an underdeveloped Libra, that might come off as shallow because you might focus on the wrong things with other, like if you're looking for a relationship, the man or the woman has to fit a look, you know, to go with your aesthetic or whatever.
Libras and their aesthetic.
Honestly, I can relate to that too, because I'm like, aesthetic, okay.
Yeah.
So, and then also I feel like underdeveloped Libras do not speak up when necessary because they're so about balance and being like good terms with everybody.
Like
sometimes
people pleasing.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes there's situations where it is clearly black and white, one's wrong, and you know, it could be like a very toxic situation, and Libras are not the person to like speak up about it.
Underdeveloped Libras, they depend a lot on the opinions of others. They need like that external, like they want people to like them ultimately, and like I wouldn't even say it's validate, like they just really want to be liked.
Yeah, okay.
They really just want people to like them. They want peace, they want harmony, they want everything like balanced, which is great, but it's to a point where it's like it could be debilitating for the Libra themselves, having to like focus on everyone else's opinions and trying to make everyone like you is like really hard work. That's exhausting because not everyone is going to like you. And I think that's something that underdeveloped Libras have to learn over time, and accepting and finding balance and peace and harmony and people not liking you.
Yeah. It's like a hard pill to swallow because I can relate to that. So Libra's my rising sign. Yeah. So I can kind of relate to that because for a long time, like especially when I was in school, I'm like, why doesn't that person like me? Like I'm such a great, nice person. I'm like, and I couldn't grasp on why. And sometimes people just don't like you for whatever. Like, you can be the ripest peach, and not everyone likes peaches. That's one of my favorites.
Exactly. And one of my favorites is like, you're not for everybody.
Oh yeah, and I grown to know that I'm an acquired taste. So if you have great taste, you like me.
Exactly. Yeah, and then like, so underdeveloped Libras, they also have a tendency to like romanticize situations, romanticize people, and like kind of have like this idea in their head of like what romance should look like. They're in love with the idea of love, right? And in that you can hurt a lot of people because you jump into these relationships that you're not necessarily ready for, only because you were like in love with the potential of what that person could have been. Yeah. And then you're hurting yourself and you're hurting this other person because they thought you were in love, but really you were in love with the idea. So you move on quick, bounce to the next person, and then they're like, whoa, wait a minute. But it's because you're like seeking that like love that only exists really in your head. And you can tend to like be like using people for your own benefit because you just want like that love so badly. So you're like, this person provides it somewhat, so let me get it from here. I can get it from here. And then you tend to leave people feeling kind of used for like underdeveloped Libras, because they have a hard time being alone.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Libras don't like being alone at all. They need like relationships and like constantly to be around people.
I feel like you're calling me out. I can really resonate with that.
Yeah.
You can romanticize situations or people. So.
And Libras, underdeveloped Libras can also be compulsive liars. They can lie a lot simply to just keep the peace, not ruffle any feathers, not make anyone upset, so they'll lie. Okay. Just because they don't want people to like dislike them. Again, the aesthetic. But
keep that look, that facade going.
Yeah. But a developed Libra is probably like one of my favorite humans of all time. Like I love Libras. They're very sweet. They're just such great, great friends because they find like that balance. They're always like harmonious. Like it's never bad vibes with a Libra.
Yeah, go with the flow. They're not like too picky. Like, if you want to do something, then they're down for it.
They're down for it. If you don't want to do something, they're
okay with it.
Yeah.
Like, love that. Love like an easygoing person.
Very easygoing, like very chill. They give really great advice because of that duality, being able to see like the balance of things. So they're able to give like good, rational, like sound advice. And they're very like artistic. And they're very artistic.
We should definitely show Pluto if he comes back here.
We should.
Her dog is named Pluto, and he's
Oh
just like, I've been petting him throughout the video. You can't see because he's a small little puppy.
Yeah, Pluto, because he's the tiniest planet. Come here, Pluto.
Oh, he wants to be shy. Look at him.
It's his Gemini coming out.
Look at him. He's really shy right now.
Look.
He's usually like out here trying to make out with people. But
give
he's
hugs.
like, and give hugs. He's being very humble.
Very
and, like,
camera shy right now.
Yeah,
okay, we're
that's
gonna put
so
you down. Go
funny.
play.
Oh my god.
So, anyways, Libras can be like very artistic people as well. Because they feel so deeply and they romanticize that like hopeless love, hopeless like romantic. So they can turn that into like an art form, music, movies, act it. You know, act like what it would be like for your ideal romantic situation, but just know that like it's not a reality, you know, it's like a dream that you have, and like you can still experience it through art. And so just knowing that like Libras have that ability to do that as well.
So another favorite for people, Scorpios, and people love to just bring those stereotypes to light. So let's talk about underdeveloped Scorpios. They are so I can resonate with some underdeveloped characteristics, as that is my moon sign. So here we go. They're too quick to cut people off, and without a warning, you could do something so small, but for a Scorpio, it's good enough reason to just never talk to you again.
Here today, gone tomorrow.
Yes. They're very vengeful. Whether they're out here seeking for revenge or they're praying and hoping and waiting for your revenge. They hold grudges. You can steal somebody's hair tie, right? 5 years later, they will remember and just associate you as a thief. They seek opportunity, and underdeveloped Scorpios can be too closed off, and they can also be very, very critical.
Yeah. So underdeveloped Scorpios are probably like, I'm scared of them. Like just straight up, like they terrify me.
Stay away. If you're underdeveloped Scorpio, stay away.
Like no, I just had like a lot of bad experiences with underdeveloped Scorpios, and it's just like, it's intense because they're such passionate people and like such deeply feeling people that like, and also very vengeful, like vindictive. So it's like you do like a little bit, like a little something, and they'll just like make sure that they get you back.
They
like,
hold so
tenfold.
much. Yeah, they hold so much weight on something that can be so small. And honestly, I could resonate with that.
Yeah. So like just like even something like, I don't even know like an example.
Something so petty.
Something just so small. Maybe you forgot to invite them to something, or right, like you forgot to invite them to something, or you just didn't think they would want to go. You didn't invite them. They will like literally make sure that they throw the biggest party of the year and make sure you're not there. Like they will actively go out of their way to make sure that you're not invited.
Yeah, and make sure that you know about it.
And make sure you know about it. Make sure you feel it. Like they're just very like petty. Yeah, so it's just not a fun time to be encountering a petty underdeveloped Scorpio. But they also can be very like, it's like these emotional like outbursts where they do tend to like hold things in. They don't always speak up right away, but when they do, very similar to Cancer. But when they do, like it's like a movie. It's very intense. It's almost disrespectful. Like the way that they come out is just like, the words come out like knives, and like
So when I said seek opportunity as an underdeveloped Scorpio, I mean it as like
opportunistic.
So like, how would you describe that?
Like to be like an opportunist just means that like whatever is good for you, beneficial for you, and then that's what you're gonna do, and you don't really care about like stepping on anybody's toes. And that comes in with like Scorpios being kind of power hungry and controlling. an underdeveloped Scorpio wants to like have control and power over others, over situations. And so them being opportunistic is part of that, being in control and having the power to like do what's best for them.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people who don't like Scorpio men see that trait like heightened a lot.
The controlling.
Yeah, the whole control, power, hungry, like, macho man.
Yeah.
But for like developed Scorpios, like with all of that come into play, they're loyal. Like, they're passionate and they're ride or die type of people. So that's why they like, you know, an underdeveloped person will take that fire and just be so like, like how can you like be disloyal to me, because they're so loyal and passionate for you.
Yeah. And they can't see how like you don't feel the same way, so then they're gonna make sure that you like feel as badly as they do. But developed Scorpios have like this magnetic personality where you're just kind of like drawn in, and you just kind of like want to know more about them, because I feel like Scorpios have so much depth to them.
Mysterious.
Like but like even just like emotional depth, like there's more than meets the eye to Scorpios, and I think that that's really beautiful if they know how to like control and manage their emotions to the point where they're not like having like emotional outbursts. They're very passionate, very independent people. They don't rely on a lot of other people, because again, they don't want to have that power like, oh, like I can only do this because you say so. Like, no, I'm gonna do it myself. Which I think is a good way to be, you know. Like, you wanna be able to rely on yourself and be independent. And like Scorpios can also be very, very artistic with that depth, with that passion. They can throw it onto like a canvas or into a song or into a poem, and it comes out really like powerful and meaningful.
Yeah. And like I know this doesn't have to do with like underdeveloped and developed signs, but every time when I read about Scorpios and like the good traits or whatever is their sex.
Oh yeah.
So I guess that's like a developed thing. So there you go, Scorpios.
Well, I guess it could just be
they're
like,
very sexy.
Yeah, but I guess it could be either or too, because I think like some Scorpios can be like sexually like driven, which could be kind of like a bad way to go.
Okay.
Or like not, I don't want to say like bad, because I guess it could work out in some people's favors. But just be cautious. If you're like living your life based or like driven by sex or driven by like sexual things, like just be careful with it.
Yeah, because with all that emotion too, you don't want to sacrifice like your soul and your like your emotions, because you know that does relate and come into play. Okay, so the next sign, underdeveloped Sagittarius. So some Sagittarius who are underdeveloped can't commit. They're too blunt, and they think the honesty is like a good thing. Like they could be rude when they're trying to tell you something, but they think it's okay because they're just being honest.
Yeah.
Like, hello.
Like, oh, I'm just telling you the truth.
Yeah, so it comes out very rude and very judgmental. I know like an underdeveloped Sagittarius are judgmental, and they have that know-it-all mentality.
Yeah, so underdeveloped Sag is a person that can be very harsh and like just very like brutally honest.
Yeah.
Cutthroat. Very cutthroat, like no filter. They can be very disrespectful. They can be a little bit like self-righteous in the sense of like, oh, I deserve this, and very similar to like an underdeveloped Scorpio, I would say that underdeveloped Sagittarius could also be very opportunistic and just kind of jumping from like whatever is good for them from one place to another without any like loyalty, because underdeveloped Sagittarius tend to have that incapable of self-accountability. Like it's always the other person. Like they don't ever really take a minute. They don't ever really take a minute to like look and really analyze where they were wrong. They're very slow to apologize. Underdeveloped Sag can be very opportunistic as well, jumping from like one thing to another, and they tend to not really have, they can be very scattered, like scatterbrained, because they're like natural wanderers. They like to explore, they like to adventure. So sometimes underdeveloped Sagittarius can have like no direction, which can be detrimental, like in maybe like choosing a job or just like, you know, the ability to commit. That's why a lot of underdeveloped Sagittarius don't have, like they're scared of commitment, because that means that they have to like choose one when they really are just like explorers. They like to see all of their options. So that's why like a lot of Sagittarius energy that's underdeveloped has a hard time committing to things and to people. And yeah, the lack of accountability is like the biggest one, is just being able to like really sit down and like self-reflect and think like, okay, I was actually not right in this situation. But a developed Sagittarius is super friendly. They're like the honest friends. Like they'll tell you exactly what it is the truth, whether you like it or not, but they'll tell you. And hopefully in like a respectful way, you know. And then they're adventurous, travelers. They like to try new experiences, new people, new foods, new countries. Any adventure is like, that's where a developed Sag wants to be at. They have this like desire to understand like the bigger purpose and like the bigger things of life. They're very philosophical. They like to like understand like humanity as like a whole. Yeah. And like just kind of gain that wisdom for themselves.
Yeah. So like as an underdeveloped Sagittarius, that can like, people with that information can come off like, oh, I know everything, I have that know-it-all mentality. Mm-hmm. But a developed Sagittarius just happens to know a lot of things, but they won't use it against you. They'll help you. Yeah,
and they'll take that accountability because they're searching that like deeper understanding of life, which they understand that also includes themselves. Mm-hmm. So like that's the difference between an underdeveloped and a developed Sag.
Well, the next sign is Capricorn, and underdeveloped Capricorns that I wrote down they're not open-minded, because I take that as like they're very stuck in their ways as well, and they need a lot of evidence and proof whenever you do give like new opinions or like something that's taboo. They're just like not about it unless they can like have proof to back it up. Or like I said before, they're stuck in their ways like Taurus, and they have that know-it-all mentality as well.
Yeah, so an underdeveloped Capricorn can be very like stubborn, very hard to please, because within themselves they're very pessimistic and they're very hard on themselves. They always are like, even if they like lifted like 20 blocks of like cement today, they're like, I should have lifted 50, like I should have done more. Like they're very hard on themselves, and because they're so hard on themselves, they also project that onto other people, that like that harsh, like you should be doing better. So it comes across very judgmental, but you have to understand that's also the underdeveloped Capricorn's like internal dialogue of how they're talking to themselves too. And they tend to like not make time for the people that are important to them because they're so busy like working and like pushing themselves further and harder, and like they tend to like forget to make time for the things and the people that are actually really important to them. And they can come across as very like serious, very like stoic, like they don't really know how to have fun. So that would be like an underdeveloped Capricorn. But a developed Capricorn is somebody who is very like goal oriented and like somebody that you can, super hardworking, somebody you can depend on because they're always gonna like stick true to like what they say and push themselves like harder and further. Even in regards to like even being a good friend, like, oh, I should be a better friend, so let me show up for this person, let me be there for this person. They're very loyal. They're very loyal, and they are very big on respect. So like they will never really go out of their way to like be disrespectful to you as long as you're also showing respect to them.
And as a developed Capricorn, there can be open-minded Capricorns, but at the same time, they will need evidence to back it up, and I feel like that could be used in a good way because they're not going to be quick to be like, oh, I believe you, like, you know, they're smart when making decisions. I feel like that's somebody who would be great in like a big position at a job firm. Yeah. They're hardworking and they also need all the facts and the information thorough.
Yeah, it all needs to just kind of like be like materialistic, like physical, like they need to be able to see it, touch it, and like to know it's real.
Underdeveloped Aquarius, they can be careless. They don't really like to present or show their feelings. So they're the kind of people to ghost you even though they may really like you. They just don't like to be that vulnerable. And with all that, they don't allow themselves to feel. So they'll be in and they'll be with people and be happy, but they can isolate themselves for a long period of time. Yeah. And that could be, you know, bad in many ways. So yeah,
so like an underdeveloped Aquarius is very detached. Aquarius is also an air sign like Gemini, like Libra. So we're like the thinkers, and like we're all in our head. So Aquariuses are very much in their head and less in their heart. And then if they're underdeveloped, it's like even more like they can't like connect the two. Like, and they can come across very like cold-hearted, like they're not really interested in romance, not really interested in like being affectionate with others and like showing affection or being vulnerable. Like none of that is really like interesting to them. They could also be a little bit harsh or stubborn. Again, Aquarius is also another fixed sign that is very like, this is the way I'm doing it, this is how I've always done it, this is the way that I see it, and like this is just it, this is me. So they can be very like stuck in their way as well. And they're hard to open up. So very hard eggs to crack if they're underdeveloped.
Yeah.
But like developed Aquarius is like, my mom I would say she's a developed Aquarius. So she's very just like friendly, like unique, super innovative people. Like they come up with things that like you would have never thought of. They just like are very like outside of the box, like thinkers. So they can tend to like just come up with like really great ideas that most people don't think about on a regular basis.
Yeah.
They're very independent, but also helpful. So like because they're so independent and so like detached, like they're good, they're like, all right, I'm good, so like what do you need, like how can I help you? They're also like to like share their knowledge with others because they're very big on like the collective, like all of humanity. So if like they're able to help out other people, like that gives them joy. If they're able to like share knowledge with other people that will help other people, that will then help humanity, like that will bring them joy. So like developed Aquariuses are actually really important for like the advancement of humanity and like groups and like social settings and things like that. They're very progressive. They need like their own space. They need the freedom to like do whatever it is that they need to do however they want, and then like if you're still there when they come back, like that's great.
And it's not to say that like a developed Aquarius will not be emotionally there, because as a developed person in general, you're aware of something that you lack, right? So an Aquarius can be emotionally available because they're aware that naturally they're not like that, and that could hinder any kind of relationship they have with somebody. So.
Yeah, and like my mom is very like emotionally aware. Like she's actually very emotional. So
and that could be her moon, or
it
other
could be
signs,
other placements as well. But she is aware of her emotions and like processes them very like quickly as well. And like I think the myth, right, that Aquariuses are like robots, I think is not fair to say, because I think developed Aquariuses can be very emotional and very like in tune with their emotions and the emotions of others in order to like progress humanity and like the collective. They can be really good leaders for groups as well.
Our last sign is Pisces. And underdeveloped Pisces really reminds me a lot of underdeveloped Cancers. They're both water signs, obviously. Mm-hmm. So they could play the victim card. They can be a little bit too sensitive, meaning like they take everything to heart. And that's very exhausting for another person because they have to like tiptoe around their feelings or be careful what they say too much. And sometimes, you know, it's too much for somebody else, especially when they just want to freely talk without offending somebody.
Yeah. So like that would be, but it's also like it's hard on the other people that have to deal with it, but like also it's hard on the Pisces themselves to not being able to like regulate and like find out like why they're so sensitive about whatever it is that they're being sensitive about. I'm a Pisces moon, so I have like some of these things that are gonna be calling me out a little bit.
Hits home for her.
A little. So an underdeveloped Pisces energy, whether it's in your moon sign, your rising, whatever, wherever Pisces is in your chart, like it could be, you could be very like unpredictable, in your sense of like, you don't really understand your emotions. And so because you don't understand them, you could act irrationally or just like very in ways that are just super unpredictable, like you were saying, like kind of like walking on eggshells. Like you don't really know how this person is going to react because they themselves don't know how they're going to react. They haven't been able to like identify, process, regulate their emotions. They can be very like self-pitying and like play the victim, like woe is me, like oh my god, everything is terrible, instead of trying to like really work through those emotions and like try to take accountability for themselves in a way.
So yeah, and Pisces, like they live in their own dream world, right? In their own bubble. So I feel like underdeveloped Pisces can view a situation in their own like dream world and interpret it like completely out of context because they're so wrapped up in their head.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. And like you were saying, because they're so like wrapped up in their dream world, they can be very like escapist. So like Pisces energy tends to like want to just, because they feel so much, they're like, nah, let me go smoke this, let me go drink that, let me go on vacation, let me just escape. I can't feel this is way too much. Because of that hypersensitivity, they can also be escapists and escaping into like unhealthy vices, I would say, or just escaping, like literally escaping, leaving the country, leaving the state, leaving the town, or
run away from their problems.
Running away, yeah. They could also be a little bit irresponsible with that escapism as well. So like underdeveloped Pisces can be seen as just irresponsible people. They could be very heart over head. So just literally living off of all of their emotions and not really using their head to kind of like balance the two, and they just kind of react based from their heart all the time, which can be super exhausting. And underdeveloped Pisces, they lack boundaries. So they kind of just let people walk in, walk out, walk all over them, and they're very easily hurt because they don't set up those strong boundaries from the jump.
I actually wrote that down, I forgot to say it. Yeah. They like, people walk all over them easily, and that's how. Yeah,
so that's something that I, as a Pisces moon, am working on, is the boundaries part, like setting up those boundaries like from the jump, so that I don't have to deal with like the hypersensitivity and like all of those escapist things that I like sometimes do. Like I'm trying to set up the boundary to avoid that. So I'm trying to be more developed. So a developed Pisces energy is somebody who's like super compassionate, very caring, very selfless, like willing to give, but also able to set up those boundaries and being able to say like, I'm okay with this, like I can help you tonight, but I can't come tomorrow, and type of thing. Whereas like an underdeveloped Pisces might be like, I can come tonight and I'll stay for the next 3 days if you need me to.
Or like the person will be like, oh, can you do this, and Pisces is a yes man.
Which,
it's not good.
And then they can, because of their dreamy nature, they could also be very like artistic, super creative, and just dive into the world of their music, dive into the world of their art, whatever it is.
And all their passion and what they feel, they could, bring it out in a more positive way instead of like, being upset.
And they're very understanding. Developed Pisces, super understanding and very generous, like with their time and how they spend it with the people that they love, and their intuition is super high. I think sometimes underdeveloped Pisces don't always necessarily listen to it, because Pisces energy is also very empathic, and I think a lot of Pisces absorb a lot, the lack of the boundaries. So when you're absorbing a lot and you don't have those boundaries, you're taking in the emotions of other people, and it's hard to kind of find your voice again and your intuition. So a developed Pisces is somebody who has been able to like kind of block out the rest of the noise and listen to like their selves.
And with that being said, like with a developed Pisces, or even underdeveloped, I feel like it's just something Pisces probably have, is that they're able to have deep, meaningful conversations with you, and that's like a great thing. And especially with a developed Pisces, with that, like I can only imagine how beautiful conversations with Pisces can be.
Yeah, it's about your soul and your spirit, all of that. Once they've been able to balance their own emotions, they can really be there for other people and theirs.
Yeah. That's all for the signs, the underdeveloped and developed. I hope you can distinguish what characteristics that you may have. Comment down below what you resonate with or what you see in other people, and I hope you learned something that, like, yes, every sign may have the stereotype, but not every person is that stereotype. Like, everyone has flaws and everyone has great characteristics.
And just like remembering that throughout this whole video, like you might have both. You might be underdeveloped and developed in certain areas of your life, and just understanding where you need to improve.
And as a developing person, it's great to like note which you resonate with, so that way you can work on it. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
All we're trying to do here is just work on it.
Yeah.
So you guys can follow me at Miss_Nadia12. And if you ever like wanted to like book a reading with me for astrology, like I can do that as well. Just send me a DM. I'm still in the process of like getting a website up, but for now you can send me a DM and we can talk what day works for us. So
yeah, she really knows her stuff. Like every time I have a question, I ask her. So if you're like really into it too and you want to know more about who you are as a person, she can really help you out with that.
Anything from this video where you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm like an underdeveloped Cancer, like what do I do? Like I can definitely like have a session with you. We can talk about like how to get you to that space of like being a developed Cancer by reading your birth chart and analyzing like your developed and your underdeveloped areas. And yeah.
So make sure to follow her, and like I said, thank you so much for watching. Please comment down below with anything you want to say. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Subscribe to this channel if you want to see more videos from me, and I'll see you guys next time.